David is well established as king of Israel, with his capital in Jerusalem. Surrounding nations that have not been pleased with the rise of a good king in Jerusalem and have risen up against him, he has subdued through the strength of his army. And so the whole region has a degree of peace. But not everyone continues to be happy with that. Peace must be maintained. And so it happened in the spring of the year, at the time when kings go out to battle, that David sent Joab and his servants with him, and all Israel. And they destroyed the people of Ammon and besieged Rabbah. But David remained at Jerusalem. Then it happened one evening that David arose from his bed and walked on the roof of the king's house. And from the roof he saw a woman bathing, and the woman was very beautiful to behold. So David sent and inquired about the woman, and was told, "Is this not Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite?" Then David sent messengers and took her, and she came to him, and he lay with her, for she was cleansed from her impurity. And she returned to her house. And the woman conceived, so she sent and told David, and said, "I am with child." Then David sent to Joab, saying, "Send me Uriah the Hittite." And Joab sent Uriah the Hittite. When Uriah had come to him, David asked him how Joab was going, and how the people were doing, and how the war prospered. And David said to Uriah, "Go down to your house and wash your feet." So Uriah departed from the king's house, and a gift of food from the king followed him. But Uriah slept at the door of the king's house, with all the servants of his lord, and did not go down to his house. So when they told David, saying, "Uriah did not go down to his house," David said to Uriah, "Did you not come from a journey? Why did you not go down to your house?" And Uriah said to David, "The ark of Israel and Judah are dwelling in tents, and my lord Joab and the servants of my lord are encamped in the open fields. Shall I then go to my house to eat and drink, and to lie with my wife? As you live and as your soul lives, I will not do this thing." Then David said to Uriah, "Wait here today also, and tomorrow I will let you depart." So Uriah remained in Jerusalem that day and the next. And when David called him, he ate and drank before him, and he made him drunk. And at evening he went out to lie on his bed with the servants of his lord. But he did not go down to his house. In the morning it happened that David wrote a letter to Joab, and sent it by the hand of Uriah. And he wrote in the letter, saying, "Set Uriah in the forefront of the hottest battle, and retreat from him, that he may be struck down and die." So it was, while Joab besieged the city, that he assigned Uriah to a place where he knew there were valiant men. Then the men of the city came out and fought with Joab, and some of the people of the servants of David fell, and Uriah the Hittite died also. Then Joab sent and told David all the things concerning the war, and charged the messenger, saying, "When you have finished telling the matters of the war to the king, if it happens that the king's wrath arises, and he says to you, 'Why did you approach so near to the city when you fought? Did you not know that they would shoot from the wall? Who struck Abimelech the son of Jerubbesheth? Was it not a woman who cast a piece of a millstone on him from the wall, so that he died in Thebez? Why did you go near the wall?' Then you shall say, 'Your servant Uriah the Hittite is dead also.'" So the messenger went and came and told David all that Joab had sent by him. And the messenger said to David, "Surely the men prevailed against us, and came out to us in the field. Then we drove them back as far as the entrance of the gate. The archers shot from the wall at your servants, and some of the king's servants are dead. And your servant Uriah the Hittite is dead also." Then David said to the messenger, "Thus you shall say to Joab, 'Do not let this thing displease you, for the sword devours one as well as another. Strengthen your attack against the city, and overthrow it. So encourage him." When the wife of Uriah heard that Uriah her husband was dead, she mourned for her husband. And when her mourning was over, David sent and brought her to his house, and she became his wife, and bore him a son. But the thing that David had done displeased the Lord. My name's Arthur, and I thank you for joining me as we share together from 2 Samuel chapter 11. The background was that when the old king of Ammon died, who was friendly towards David, David had sent some servants to comfort the new king. But the servants of the new king said, David's just spying out, he wants to take over the land. And so he humiliated David's servants. Then, having realised that he'd upset David, he called the Syrians to help him fight against David. Well, David's men, Joab, had defeated the Syrians, and Ammon sent the Syrians packing. The Syrians had come back another time, and Joab had sent them packing again. So they made peace with David. But the matter has not been resolved. The people of Ammon had not apologised for their actions to David, and so David sends Joab to deal with them, because they have not dealt righteously with Israel. But David himself does not go to the battle. And we might expect that in our modern world, our presidents and governors, if they do turn up at the battlefront, do so in a very sneaky way. So David did not go. And while he was walking on his rooftop, he spies a woman bathing, sees she is very beautiful, calls her to him, makes love with her, and then finds she's pregnant. He does this even though he has over half a dozen wives at this time, maybe more. What's he going to do? Well, his immediate reaction, and one that we could all make, was to cover it up. Get the husband to come home, so that it would appear that the husband is the father, even though there'll be a time discrepancy. But Uriah is a soldier in David's army, fighting with Joab. He's very committed to the Lord, to David, and to Joab. And he's on duty. And so he doesn't go home to have a holiday and spend time with his wife. He stays on duty in the barracks, even though David makes him drunk. His resolve is to stand by the fellow soldiers who are camped in the field around the city of Rabbah in Ammon. And so David sends Uriah back to the front with a message to Joab, effectively asking Joab to arrange for Uriah to be killed in the battle. Now we know the character of Joab. He had murdered Abner in a time of peace for something that happened in time of war. David had been very displeased with that, but Joab had thought that was fine. And so Joab is quite happy to do what David says. He engages in a maneuver that he knows is dangerous and puts Uriah in place so that Uriah is killed. And the message comes back to David. And David says, oh yes, that's what happens in war, some people die. But the Lord knows that this wasn't just some people die in the war. This was a murder. This was in fact exactly what Saul had been trying to do with David when he sent him to battle. The Lord had protected David in those days because David acted very wisely. David was in fact in charge of the situation in those battles. But Uriah was just being faithful as a servant, and he died. But David was king. There was no one who could condemn him, no one who could judge him. In fact, Joab is the only person who knows anything about this, other, of course, than whatever Bathsheba knew, and she was probably not going to tell. She has now become yet another wife to David, and she has borne him a son.